Hey everybody, welcome back to the North American LCS, now in the interview lounge. Rivington III here with Counterlogic Gaming's Hotshot GG and Schauster. Guys, congratulations on the win. I gotta say, were you surprised by the start that Complexity gave you there?
I'll let you do this one.
All right, I was surprised. Afro and W4D3, they're a really strong bottom lane, and we started off the game by them receiving first blood. Complexity got the first blood in our bottom lane, and our philosophy that game was kind of like, oh, I'm going to camp bottom lane, make sure Doublelift gets farmed and fed, and just make sure our late game is secured. But that didn't go so well. But thankfully, Link picked up the slack.
Oh, Link carried so hard that game. Unbelievable. I was like, oops, I made a mistake. And then Link was like, well, I killed 4 of them. I was like, okay.
Actually, talking about making mistakes, you had pings and wards coming up to you with Loud Mortis coming up for a gank at one point, and you kind of just allowed yourself to die in lane. What was going on?
I was trying to bait him. I was trying to bait him to like stay there and that sort of thing, and then Nick flashed behind me and hammered me, and I was like, oh my god, why am I so bad? But it was good. It was good.
All right, so either of you guys for this one, going into Champion Select, obviously you guys have been saying that get Doublelift fed on Vayne. They took that away from you in Champion Select. Were you guys kind of like, we'll go late game Kog'Maw, or do you have anything else in store that you would have brought out there, or you just want to stick to your late game?
One of the biggest things is we know Brunch is a big Cog player, so we thought we can also take Cog and just make him a little weaker there. So yeah.
So you guys continued to focus blue. You actually predicted about 5 seconds with Loud Mortis coming back to blue. That had to make you guys feel good. You knew you were taking the game at that point. What's the point at keeping it going? Loud Mortis kind of gave up on yours after stealing it.
I think it was a choice for theirs to not counter our blue. I guess they weren't in position to, but since I took the timer for theirs and both my soul lanes were just in position to, because I made sure like it spawns at this point, I need you guys to be ready. And they responded, so.
Very cool, very cool. So you said Link, Hotshot, you said Link carried your entire game. What do you guys focus around him? What does it change in the mid that we have to now kind of focus on saving Link instead of, you know, Doublelift and let him do his own thing with Barrier?
Well, everybody just plays reactively, and so like Link's job was just to poke and make sure he doesn't get caught, and that's basically what the team's job was. We had poke with a split pusher, and like that is just devastating if you get to late game. You can't deal with that. So we could just slow roll them.
So you guys are feeling, it's got to feel good now, but let's talk about when the losses came in, the few weeks off. Where do you think those came from?
I think it's a little bit of underestimating our opponents and also not knowing how to prepare versus someone that you don't have as much info on. We just made some silly mistakes in Champion Select. Like, for instance, versus Vulcan, we didn't have any engage versus Anili, and kind of what happened in this game happened to us, and we couldn't do anything about it. So those are kind of the mistakes we've been making.
All right, and how did you feel about your Wukong pick? You actually played it quite well. You kept up with the other jungler in the particular game. Do you think you'll bring it out again, or do you think it was kind of lacking a little bit?
I think it's still okay, because I never really played Wukong as much as like, in that game, because usually when we played Wukong, we had like an Alistar there.
All right.
And for some reason in that game, our team comp just didn't work out. That was the first time I was in that position. Normally, all I have to do is go in the back line, just press the ulti button, and then flash, and then everyone gets knocked up. Everyone gets knocked up, but in that game, I would go in, and then my back line just dies, because there's no one there to protect them. So, yeah.
So how do you guys feel right now? Obviously picking up a few wins. Are there still a few things you guys want to work on personally that you can come into next week LCS with, or rather coming into MLG?
I think we've been working on a lot of our mistakes, and we've been fixing them quite quickly. And we've been really trying hard to focus on what makes us lose and what makes us win, and just not focus on only the negatives, but also focus on the positives. And it's been helping us a lot.
All right, and last question for you guys. Coming into now the LCS Super Week is over. You've seen a lot more of what these teams can pull out. Who do you kind of have in your eyes as now the team for you guys to beat or work at the hardest to have to beat?
Dignitas.
Just a simple, easy answer there. Why Dignitas?
Well, they're number 1 right now, so it's always the top dog that needs to be knocked down. So we want them.
All right, right on. Chowster and Hotshot, thank you very much for the interview. Guys, we've had amazing matches so far today. Curse versus TSM went almost 50 minutes in that game. A complete nail-biter out throughout. Curse was able to pull back another win for themselves. We have a lot more to come with more games on the day, but right now we're going to check out a few plays with Jat on the Telestrator.
Thanks, Riv. And I actually have the Dragon fight that happened near the start of the Team Solo Mid vs. Curse game. Now, at the start of this clip, TSM has Chaos in the auto at the Dragon. If you pay close attention to the mini-map really quickly, it's just the position on the screen where Voyboy is on Elise, and Hart and Cop and Elements are just still in the base. So all St. Vicious and Nijaki want to do in this clip is hold off and make sure that they are not getting the Dragon. Let's roll the clip, please. Now you watch. They're coming in from the side. St. Vicious actually tries to collapse onto Reginald, but you can tell they're just trying to stall. If we can pause it here, you'll realize that the Dragon is below half health right here. You look at his health bar. The odd one's kind of low, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and they know Dyrus has TP, and it's still just 2 members of Curse that are up here. So if we just roll the clip, we'll see how Curse tries to initiate, but not really. They only want to stall them out. So St. Vicious ults in and then flashes away. He's actually going to end up going down because Dyrus is teleported in, but they've stalled the Dragon. TSM hasn't finished it off, and now Curse is here. So if we can pause it right here, you look, and it's actually 5v4. TSM looks like they're pretty healthy. The odd one is the only one who's a little bit low, and he does have the Orianna ball right on top of him. Voyboy has made it all the way down. Elements has made it all the way there. Cop is just rocket jumping in right now on Tristana, and Nijaki's Rise is on the hunt. So TSM has taken a bit of damage from the Dragon. They have killed St. Vicious, but they've used a fair amount of skills to get there, right? Odd One's ultimate is down. Reginald's Shockwave is not quite up yet on Orianna. So if we can roll the clip, we'll see how aggressive Curse goes in 5v4 and just finishes them off. Voyboy jumps up into the air. He gets a bunch of damage down for them. He's actually just going all out on Chaos. They pop the Lulu ult, and if we can actually just pause it here, you realize how deep Voyboy actually went into this fight. He is a full screen away from the rest of the other team. The odd one doesn't even know what he's doing there. Somehow Voyboy caught up to him. And Reginald and X Special get kind of so confused by how deep Voyboy went in. You can see Reginald actually shot his Orianna ball down towards Voyboy, but what he needed to do is keep it on himself for protection, because the rest of Curse, as we have a huge amount of scribbles on the screen, is coming for Reginald. If we just roll this clip, we'll see what a disaster it became. Reginald went down, Voyboy killed the odd one, Cop jumped in on top of them, and Curse somehow came out slightly on top of this incredibly chaotic engagement that happened at the Dragon fight. I mainly wanted to point out this clip because that was a really good job of Curse of collapsing down on the Dragon despite not having many people there. They did end up winning the game. It was in small part because of that play, but that was a really well-played fight by pretty much both teams. Send it back to you guys.
Thanks, Jat. Now, don't forget, Super Week continues with the European LCS on Saturday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Central European Time.
The first match of the day features Fnatic versus Copenhagen Wolves, who just got their first win of the season.
And, of course, we've got much more for you here in the North American LCS. When we come back, it's MRN versus Dignitas. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. David Freak Turley here, along with Joshua Jat Leisman. We're about to get things started again. It is time for MRN versus Dignitas. Now, both these teams have had a great run so far during Super Week. MRN rocket jumped their way out from the bottom of the standings, and now they're in 5th place. But they face a Dignitas who's on a monstrous 9-game winning streak and are in 1st place.
Yeah, MRN took down TSM and CLG, so if they beat Dignitas, they're going to turn into Jack the Giant killers, right? They're going to be destroying the top-tier teams in North America, and in small part, that was Heartbeat's 80 carry play, right? The Blade of the Ruined King is now working its way into other teams' builds. Cop was doing it in the first game of the day on Curse, and they're looking pretty good in this game. This is a real test for them now.
But the difficult thing is that Dignitas had a destructive game against Complexity yesterday.
That was the most one-sided game we've had in the entire LCS, and Dignitas is on an absolute tear. Like, it's hard to even describe how badly they've been dominating people. They're looking like a worldwide powerhouse after the way they've been dismantling the teams in North America over the past couple of weeks, so it's up to MRN to try to stop them.
Well, like we said, both these teams are tearing it up right now. Dignitas thinks they'll have the edge in this match, though. Let's take a look.
Dignitas was actually our very first match, and we got destroyed.
Beautiful job in every lane by Dignitas, really solidifying this one early.
I think MRN's downfall is, they don't have experience. With a couple more of the LCS games, they might just start destroying everyone. Our experience probably will get us the win, even if we do start falling behind.
So we just have to really come up with new things, safe things, but also aggressive things that we can throw out because we can't play safe every game. And yeah, just play unpredictable.
All right, everybody, let us take a look at our lineups for this match. On the blue side, it is Team MRN. Mega Zero in the top lane, Clicky D in jungle, Echo in the mid lane, Heartbeat on AD carry, and Atomic N on support.
And on the red side, we have Team Dignitas with Kiwi Kid in the top lane, Crumbs in the jungle, Skara in mid lane, I'm a Cutie Pie on AD carry, and Patoy on support.
And this game has our featured matchup of the day. It's the war of the top laners, Mega Zero and Kiwi Kid.
And this is such an awesome 1v1 matchup. Mega Zero actually reminds me a lot of Voyboy about a year ago when he would just dismantle people 1v1, but would be vulnerable to lane swaps, 1v2s, and some really smart ganks. So Mega Zero still has to develop his game, but he's been so potent 1v1. But Kiwi Kid crushed Voyboy in lane earlier on in the week. The actual Voyboy. So this matchup is just like Kiwi Kid round 2, go brawl someone else. If they get to actually lane against each other in a 1v1 matchup, it's going to be so interesting.
And, you know, I'm kind of curious about the rest of these matchups here as well. Of course, that's one we're going to highlight a bunch, but you've seen Cutie Pie be destructive on Draven, like just completely dismantling people. Of course, you saw Counter Logic Gaming, I think it was CLG, had to ban that out against him in that matchup. We'll see what ends up being banned here. Of course, we're into Champion Select.
Right.
MRN on the blue team, they're going to be first pick, first ban. See what they go for.
So how are teams going to start countering Dignitas here? They've got the Draven ban because we were talking about yesterday, they've got like 10 or 12 champions that it feels like if you don't ban out, you're going to lose to them. Obviously, Draven, Singed, Diana, Kale, Vi.
Yeah.
What else we got? There's definitely
too many
more,
things.
right? And they've tried for 3 of them, but Dignitas still has Diana ready, right? There's Alistair ready for Patoy. Even Zyra is so potent for him. There's just too much.
And of course, you're seeing Twisted Fate just being banned out like a lot recently, really. Like, Twisted Fate's been interesting because he's a guy that people like for, I guess not so much recently anymore, but for the last like 2 years, people would like forget he was a good champion, then he'd be ubiquitous and banned all the time, and then people would like forget again. And it seems like people remember TF is amazing. Of course, you're seeing the rest of the target bans, 2 of them aimed at Mega Zero, and just kind of down the board, right? That Draven, Singed, Kale ban against Dignitas, which are kind of the 3 you expect. But there we go, that AP Needly, the likely pickup for Echo, first pick.
Yeah, and Twisted Fate, to get back to that point, is one of the few champions that, like, if there's a master TF player on the other team, that's when it draws the ban, right?
Yeah.
And Echo's pretty much, his history was like Anivia into Twisted Fate. He hasn't dominated anybody with Twisted Fate in the tournament, but with the way Dignitas has put like their multi-lane pressure in the game, I think they really just want to keep that away so they can maintain their regular playstyle.
And this is going to be interesting as well. Now, you've seen really the comfortable champions, right? You can only ban 3 of them out. Alistair up there on Kiwi Kid, Crumbs on Xin Zhao. With all junglers available, goes for Xin Zhao right away.
Yeah.
That comfort champion for Clicky D. Jarvan, of course, is still available.
Tarek too.
Yeah, Tarek is up there. I mean, we can see them go back to Terra Urgot from the qualifiers, though they've been switching it up a bit since then. And the one thing I kind of want to point out about the Needly, Hotshot said it in the interview, getting hard engaged against a Needly is so important.
and that's why they got the Alistair and the Jinzat, like right off the bat. So Martin really taking their time with this one. I mean, Atomic N is really good at Taric, right? And Clicky D loves Jarvan, but the same thing is Vi is still available, and it's kind of like his love versus what he might think is overpowered right now, but they do go with the Jarvan. And is that going to be actually a Sona, which would, you know, maybe try to outpoke the Alistair, maybe going for more counter-engaged for the hard engage that Dignitas is going to be throwing at him, but that's the Sona. They did a very successful Sona Tristana lane yesterday, so we'll see if they go with that again.
Certainly a very strong laner overall. Cutie Pie with the Draven ban. He's looking at Varus right now. We've seen Varus a heck of a lot in Europe. We haven't seen him a lot in North America yet. I know Brunch U played him in one of Complexity's matches earlier in the week. Of course, Kiwi Kid's going to get that top lane Elise that he had used to beat Voyboy a while back.
So, but what is Vime Cutie Pie going to go with here? Because he has the big smile on his face, so he has played Varus in the past. He was one of the early adopters of Varus. He has experience on 80 carries that don't have the move blocks, the jumps away, and it would add to their hard engage on trying to catch Nidalee. But the fact that he hasn't locked this in yet makes me think he's screwing with this.
And he's still looking around, right?
Yeah, he's still looking around. Whoa, I was gonna say Kog'Maw. That's not a Kog'Maw.
All right, that is Corki. Yeah, that's one of the other comfort picks for him, of course. I mean, way back in the day, he'd rush the Black Cleaver on it and triple Doran's Blade and just brawled people all the time.
That was with the old Black Cleaver too, the one that was like 15 armor shred on hit stacks up to 3 times, and you're like, Cutie Pie, that's not a good build. He's like, we do it because it works. It's like you got to think about your stuff.
For you,
but I'm Cutie Pie just. He doesn't need to think, and he's successful. So
yeah, he just kind of goes. Like if you ever watch Cutie Pie in a team fight, he'll just pick Brawl at every single opportunity. 80% of the time it works. 20% of the time he flashes to die.
Or just Valks in. Like that, I will be not surprised if at some point in this game, I'm a Cutie Pie will Valk to a flash to close Valkyrie's 800 range. Flashes then like 400, 1200 range onto someone. And I would not be surprised in the slightest if Heartbeat goes for this Tristana. And then it's all about Echo's picking mid lane because he doesn't know what's going on.
He's going to be Nidalee,
Apparently he's picked Nidalee.
Yeah.
And I, for some reason, thought Megazero was going top lane, so that makes sense.
No worries. Yeah, so it looks like the Shen's going to be in there. I don't remember ever seeing Megazero on Shen before. So that'll be an interesting pickup there. He knows he's going to be fighting against against that Elise from Kiwi Kid. If it is a 1v1, certainly Marn's been seeking that so far. But there is an overall Marn lineup. Dignitas looking for what might be a mid laner here. Of course, really nothing's been banned out against him except for Kale. So Diana and I can't forget Gragas, exactly. Like,
Diana and Gragas would be his 2 other go-tos, unless he's got something. Again, I mean, these teams want to stay ahead of the curve. Curse got caught up to a little bit yesterday and the day before because they were doing the same thing. A few teams were able to take him down. Dignitas might want to be ahead of that. The lane matchups are going to be tricky. I mean, just going back to our featured matchup, the Shen versus potentially an Elise, like that's not the Mega Zero type champion. Shen's not known as the guy who's like, I'm going to kill you in lane and be super aggressive. It's just the Akali and the Renekton are banned, so they were targeting Mega Zero at the start of that, but of course, the Diana for Skara.
Unless you play it like Dirtnap Gaming's Chris from the qualifier, where you rushed
Home Guard Boots,
and he went Ravenous Hydra Shen. And then he was Fighter Shen. And it worked for him, to be fair. It might not work against Dignitas. We'll see what it comes out here. But, Jat, we got the lineups locked in. What do these look like? So
for Dignitas, I think this is another one of those we're going to press really hard and fast. They got really strong laners in Kiwi Kid and Scar for Elise and Diana, and the really strong early game jungle from Crumb. So the thing they pulled off with Complexity is the plan for them. Whether or not it works out was yet to be seen. Marn has a bit of a late game strategy. Sit back, wait and poke, let Heartbeat bypass his mid game, and then let him crush in late with the Blade of the Ruined King. So we'll see if that can work out again for Marn.
All right, well, of course, the lineups are here. Marn are really knocking at the door of 4th place right now. Now, with CLG winning their last match, a win here will not quite put them into 4th, but they're basically a game behind CLG. And so they're knocking at that top 4 spot, which honestly, coming into the season, I think Marn was the #1 underdog. Like, they were the team people would have considered 8th, and they're like almost in the top 4.
And coming into this week, when they had 1 win, and you looked at their schedule, and 4 out of their 5 games were Curse, Dignitas, CLG, TSM, you're like, Marn is screwed.
Marn, sorry, you're saying it 1 win, bros. Nope.
And then they just turned into the upset kings. They beat CLG, they beat TSM, and I mean, the last team actually to get their streak by this is a bad analogy. The last team to beat CLG that was on a losing streak was Vulcan, and they won 3 in a row after that.
Yeah.
So Marn's got 1 left.
No, because they got a win as well. They're
out of wins.
They're out of wins, unfortunately. So just by looking at streaks so far, Marn's going to run out of energy in that steam train.
Their
We'll
CLG energy is gone.
CLG energy. All right, anyway, guys, we are into the game, of course. As you can see, Marn on blue team, looking at standard lanes so far. Dignitas on the red, following Cutie Pie out of the base. Doran's Blade openers for the AD carries. We've seen that quite a lot recently. Mega Zero, no surprise for him, is opening up with that red elixir. And 3 of the 5 members of each team have brought wards in. As you guys looking to be competitive, buying wards rather strong.
Yeah, and the important thing to note is both Kiwi Kid and Skara have double wards. So there's actually 6 regular site wards that are on all of Dignitas. They've, instead of going, I believe it's 2 wards, unless I have a display book on my screen. It's got to be 2. Yeah, it's 4 on Patoy, 2 on Kiwi Kid, and 2 on Skara. So if they want to, they could dump a bunch of wards, or this could just extend Dignitas' laning phase even longer because they could reward their spots.
Well, that'll be fun to watch if they do that. Of course, lots of consumables on a lot of these players here. Pretty much Hunter's Machete. Just kind of the only one available. We see Marn waiting around by their wraiths. Dignitas are right by that, though. If they put a ward down, they could kill it off. You see Patoy not really wanting to ward because he know it can be killed. And they won't actually get to wraith ward.
And this is one of those probably not invades for either one of these teams. There was a beautiful invade that happened in the European LCS where so many of the teams have been doing like the 5-man defensive strategies. And it was the actually Gambit Gaming versus Evil Geniuses game where they had the one Xin Zhao just sitting like he was doing the 5-man defense, but the other 4 were sitting in the brush next to the red buff, and they just pounced as soon as someone tried to invade. But Dignitas did not fall for that same strategy, and we do seem to have easy opens, no deep wards in any of the jungles, just river wards.
Alrighty, and actually looking at the early jungle clears here, Dignitas actually not giving any free experience to their AD carry. He actually did help Scar. Oh my gosh, Scar actually being given a blue buff at level 1 while Crumbs is taking away the lizard buff here. So already Dignitas with some interesting jungle openings.
And this looks like Scar's going bot lane again. Dignitas has done this in 2 games so far in Super Week, and they're probably going to put Cutie Pie and Patoy, or maybe even just have a roaming Alistair while Corki solo lanes. Corki's one of the few AD carries who can solo lane quite well. Against Nidalee, it's just like a range versus range matchup, but the straight-up trade damage is higher for Cutie Pie, and since they gave all the experience to Skara, he can survive for a little bit in that bot lane and ward against dives. That's a clever play by Dig, and now they're roaming for early counter jungling.
Yeah, and they're already running up to that blue buff. You see Jarvan and Nidalee showing up to help Shen as well. And actually, wow, the really good counter aggression there. The ward coming out from Mega Zero. They might stop the invade. Of course, again, there's a numbers advantage here for Dignitas. They are still trying to make moves. Claky D is like waiting around knowing they're trying to steal this buff away. His smite is available, but so is Crumbs. There might be a smite battle here.
Yeah, and if anything, he's going to try to just sit in the back and steal this away. Crumbs has got to get it fast if he wants this, because Claky D's not confident in a fight, but just because Echo disappeared from mid lane, Crumbs and Matoy are backing off a little bit. Cutie Pie never peeled down to help this.
And Crumbs, no, the smite actually did go to Crumbs. He did pick that one up. Claky D now in a bad spot. Mega's gonna get the taunt, knocked into the air. Will they have the damage? Exhaust going off into Claky D. Flashes away from almost everybody. Look how low he is, but Mega Zero taking damage from Kiwi Kid. Claky D's coolers are up. First blood. Claky D picks it up. There's the repel from Elise. Kiwi Kid still on top of that team. Mega Zero's taunt should be up very, very soon. He just uses it. Flashes away from Kiwi. He will survive. First blood, though, in the blue black back to Claky D.
So they countered the early aggression from Dignitas. Cutie Pie opted to shove instead of assist, so he does have an experience edge on Echo a little bit, but I gotta say that was probably the wrong choice. They won the smite battle, but lost the blue buff war, so that is an early lead for Marn.
And of course the refresh on the red buff for Claky as well by picking up that kill onto Crumbs. So Crumbs gonna have a little bit of a rough spot in his jungle. Claky D apparently not the smite superstar I talked him out to be yesterday. But we'll see how it comes out the rest of the day. Skara, again, in that 1 versus 2, he is actually at 17 minion kills. That blue buff really helping him farm out and not take much damage.
Yeah, it's pretty damn impressive getting that Crescent Strike down to a 7-second cooldown with the blue buff. Heartbeat and Atomic End not really able to put much pressure. I know that Marn in general hasn't had much success with 2v1 lanes. The last time they were presented with the 2v1 lane was against TSM, where Marn actually swapped back really, really quickly, but I don't think they really know how to respond to the 2 people mid, because Dignitas is the only team in North America to have shown this strategy.
And it's just looked so good for them, of course. They are on a gigantic winning streak because of, in large part, their team play overall and strategy. We have had Mega Zero 1v1 against Kiwi Kid. They have been trading fairly equally, although you'll notice that Mega Zero is out of potions already and popped his red elixir. Whereas, of course, Kiwi Kid just still got a bunch of potions. He's still alive. Echo in this 1 versus 2, 15 minions, not terrible. Heartbeat, a lot of pressure on this turret, actually. That's a pretty big, important thing here. Down below a quarter health, Scar is not going to keep this turret alive for much longer.
Yeah, because you compare that to the mid turret, and Dignitas has barely taken a shred off of Marn's middle turret. So Scar really got to pay attention in this lane to try to keep it pushed back, or Crumbs needs to be there for some support, because if they don't come here, which it looks like they're not really planning on it, Marn's going to be taking this pretty damn soon.
All right, there we go. Again, the explosive shot onto Skara. Skara blocks that with his shield, and with only 2 minions dead on this wave, Heartbeat's going to move in on this turret. No one is there to defend this at all right now. The damage is there, of course. Skara level 5, last hitting successfully on the turret, and it's getting lower and lower and lower. Only 103 health left on that bottom lane turret, and still no one from Dignitas is moving over.
Well, I'm going to say Marn gets that on the next wave. Scar's not level 6 yet. They haven't put down the support, and Marn's going to be able to get that. You can see the mid lane here. Dignitas hasn't been able to push much more. And I'mACutiePie does have the 20 minion kill edge on Echo in the mid lane, which is a pretty good thing. They are keeping down AP needily, getting that pronunciation
Technically
eventually.
correct.
But there goes the turret.
There we go, the turret is down. But you kind of look at the lanes, and they're all matching up very, very equally as far as minion kills are concerned. 24 to 27 across the top lane, 24 to 28 across those 1v2 sort of quote-unquote mid-lane solos, and 45-43 on the AD carries. Even 1-2 on support, like everyone is last hitting fairly close to each other. The only big change is, of course, that first blood.
And this is the first time we've seen Dignitas down early game in a really long time, so I want to see what kind of plays they try to make to come back from this. Zinzao didn't get seen in that ward, but Marn kind of assumed that people were gone because Alistair had roamed down as well. So the early moves Dignitas has made so far have been repelled really well by Marn. And because of Marn's composition, Freak, they're going to want to be keeping this one fairly defensive until Heartbeat can get going. So it is on Dignitas to make some big plays here.
We'll see if they can look for them, of course. We've seen so many teams spamming vision wards just to get that sort of blindness to their opponents in the map to allow those ganks and allow those moves to be made. We'll see if that ends up happening here for Dignitas. I know we've seen many supports just spamming those pink wards as though they're Tarek. Kiwi Kid there still in the top lane, and Marn have actually lane swapped themselves, wanting to put a 2-on-1 up against Kiwi Kid to shut him down a little bit here. Echo's going to get pushed on by MRN. Good damage down. Echo at half health, but he has Tear the Goddess. We'll see if that Neely will be able to sustain herself back up. Lakey D now on that Lizard buff, having a pretty good time with that one. No counter jungling here from Crumbs, so that first gank didn't work so well, or the first invade didn't work so well for him, and he's not been making any major moves anymore.
So were you saying that Tarek places more pink wards, or was that a pink Tarek line?
That was a pink Tarek line.
Okay.
I know, it's a bit obscure.
Sure.
It's a bit obscure, I'm sorry.
I don't quite get, I mean, Tarek likes wards.
Yeah, I mean, all supports like wards, but it's the color matching. Lakey D looking in the mid lane, nice headbutt from Batoy. Might keep him alive, he's gonna go for it anyway, but knocked into the air. There's a Shen ult. Exhaust, Batoy has to force his flash. Lakey D very low, but now, oh, Shen, he whipped the taunt. Does not catch up to MrCutiePie whatsoever. Lakey D forced to run away. Actually, MrCutiePie could sense blood here. Will not quite get the kill. Echo not swiping that cannon minion out either. Still alive, everybody.
That's real good for Batoy being able to get out of that one. The level 4 Alistair essentially burning 2 level 6 ultimates and only having to get his flash out of that one. So now they know that Marn is actually kind of down some spells. Kiwi Kid is considering going down to the Dragon. He's actually kind of wandering back and forth. It does look like Dignitas isn't going to be going for a Dragon, and they're going to hope Kiwi Kid split pushes this top lane. But because of all Marn's ultimates being down, they're not going for the Dragon. Instead, I guess they might be trying to push mid.
Well, they have just sent Kiwi Kid right back up. Crumbs, though, is around, so there are 3 members pretty much available to respond here from Dignitas. Heartbeat is in that mid lane. A little bit of damage in that turret, pretty much equalizing the pressure that happened in the first few levels from MrCutiePie. Speaking of him, he's taking a little bit of damage as well. Both AD carries, really a bit of sustain on both of them, Doran's Blade and Vampiric Scepter. The Wriggle's Lantern already completed, though, on Lakey D, so there is his ward being used. A lot of ward coverage from Marn. Let's see what they can do.
So they have the pink ward down. Dignitas doesn't have crisp vision on this one. Oh, they have a... No, is that 2 pink wards from...
Yes.
I'm getting color confused. Okay, they're getting the Dragon low. Here comes Crumbs for steal. Doesn't get it.
It is going to be there for Lakey D. Everyone is going for the initiation. Atomic End very, very low. Can he ult in time? He can, but he's going to go down. Jump in on a MrCutiePie. MrCutiePie taking a bunch of damage. Crumbs taking damage as well. Can they pick up? Yes, they will. Lakey D, but a Kiwi Kid is there in the mix. Who's going to go down next? Skara, very, very low. Flashes out. Echo goes to the Javelin, lands it. MrCutiePie now in the mix. He's taking a bunch of pain as well, but Heartbeat will go down first. Mega Zero tries to find it. Double kill for this Corky. MrCutiePie will survive that encounter. That is an ace for Dignitas with only 2 deaths. deaths.
And holy crap, they did lose the Dragon, but they played that fight so expertly, and they've now tied up the gold in this game. I'm a Cutie Pie has evolved into a much fiercer beast because he used his Valkyrie and Flash to escape that fight, and it's the reason he was able to keep getting this one around at the end. Look at all the wards also that MRN placed around the Dragon buff. They're losing all of that money already, so that's a huge disadvantage for them, and Dignitas is going to be able to get the return on this turret and take a lead.
That is a very, very good play for them. They're going to hit 14,000 gold even off of that one. 14.1, I tell a lie, but that is the first lead of this game. We see for Dignitas a great turn of events for them. Again, 5-2 in that last fight. And of course, in the aftermath of that, I'm a Cutie Pie has picked up a BF sword. That is a big boost for him.
That is a large amount of damage because Heartbeat, like, he's been getting away with this Tristana build in the past because he's able to spike his Blade of the Ruined King active damage with his level 6 like spell damage spike. But if Dignitas can continue to press Heartbeat in the mid game before he gets his Phantom Dancer and most importantly his Last Whisper, I'm a Cutie Pie is going to be way stronger. Corki is actually kind of known as the mid game spike, like spell damage 80 carry, so he's going to be really strong coming up, whereas Heartbeat is hitting his weakest point in the game. This is all good for Dignitas since they've just taken a gold lead. They need to be very aggressive in these next 10 to 20 minutes.
All right, let's see what they can grab. Of course, Dragon still a few minutes till that will respawn, but the turrets, of course, are ever available because it was 1v1 and more or less 2, well, I shouldn't say more or less 2v2, it wasn't at all, but none of the turrets had really went down early from Dignitas, so now it's kind of their turn to look for the outer turrets here. A couple minions are still available for that bottom lane push. Cutie Pie and Skara, a bunch of damage from them so far. Turret is taking pressure, definitely. These lanes are aggressive.
Yeah, and there's a big level edge for Dignitas here. They might actually be able to put like a little bit of kill threat in here, which is why Marn's being so careful getting these last hits. Look at all the just poke harass that Marn's taking in that bottom lane. Wow.
Yeah, and the turret down below half health, not even a healer on that team, but Dignitas are at full health for themselves. Mega Zero forced to try to defend against Kiwi Kid's Elise, who suddenly 36 to 67 is in a massive, massive minion kill lead. Mega Zero just like randomly stopped farming here. Echo putting pressure in the mid lane, but not getting nearly the same amount of turret damage here. Dignitas now at the bottom lane are going to take that turret down.
Yeah, that mid lane was actually pretty fun to watch, but Toy was just trying to slap around Echo on support Alistar, and he was actually like keeping the full recharge on Echo's heal with all the harass he was able to put out. He completely held that lane for himself, despite it being a 66 minion kill. Level 8 in Italy just against his support Alistar, so that was a really good job by Crumbs holding the mid lane for his team.
All right, and we can see, of course, now 2-1 in turret kills. Of course, that Dragon was in Marn's favor, but you're seeing the gold start to stretch away. 1,500 gold, Dignitas' lead right now, 12 minutes in. Dignitas, of course, fighting for their basically gigantic win streak and keeping first place for themselves. Marn looking to be, challenging for 4th place in LCS off of wins like these if they can get them.
Dignitas would be the first team in the LCS to get to 10 wins, right? If they get this game? Because they're currently 9-2. So there's the statistical double digits they're going for too.
That'd be a good place to be, of course. They are a little bit more, they're a little bit secure in their positioning, of course. Take that back, wait. I'm like blanking. Curse won that game that they just played, so
yeah, Curse
they're actually
dead even with Dignitas right now. So if they lost this, they would technically lose their first place in the standings as well.
Okay, so they're definitely fighting for positioning here, of course. Let's see if they can keep that one up. Right now, Dignitas is in the lead. Blue buff being taken away by Scar. These teams have kind of cooled down for a short time. Of course, Dig's moves have been putting them in the lead here. We'll see if they can keep that up. Crumbs is now trying to take some wards down. He's put a vision ward in that brush. Killed one for himself, got 25 gold. Dignitas mid laner still there.
And Crumbs is actually coming around behind Mega Zero here in the top lane. Mega Zero's in a bit of punishment territory. They might look to dive. Here we go.
A lot of magic just on him. There's the pressure. Look at the ignite on him. Knocked into the air as well. Tries to taunt Crumbs and run away. Can he get enough? No, he's not going to nearly get away from that one. 130 gold for the assist. 260 for the kill. Nice gank.
And this is one of the down games for Mega Zero. He's been a bit of an inconsistent player. He hasn't gotten into his own in this game. The champion pick doesn't really fit his all-out style where he just likes to brawl people. And he had to fall behind in this. I mean, he just happened to fall behind because of all the chaotic team fighting, I guess, burning Shen ults. His build isn't aggressive by any means. He's trying to go full defense. It's just not a good situation for him to be in as Dignitas pressures another top turret. And Claky now has to watch out.
Oh, he gets a Shen ult for himself. He's going to look for Crumbs. Can they get the damage output onto him? There's a taunt in from Mega Zero. Knocked into the air by Crumbs. The damage output on both sides. Lickety picks one up, but now it's Kiwi Kid heads up against Mega. And I think it's going to be better for the Spider than it will be for the Ninja. Kiwi Kid, though, will walk back.
3-0-3 against Mega Zero in that top lane matchup. So they do trade kills. They do trade junglers, but just for Mega Zero, who really needed to get back in this game, and when you pick Shen, you need to be a significant 1v1 threat. The fact that that kill went to Claky instead of Mega Zero was very unfortunate for Marn as a team.
Okay, Skara, of course, in the jungle himself. stealing things away from MRN. They're having a little bit of a rough time in this mid-game. Scar's looking for the chance to jump on a Heartbeat. They do not see he is there, flanking around the backhand side, but they're Mega Zero in a 1 versus 2. He's been stunned up twice as well. Kiwi Kid going for the pressure, but Echo will keep him alive. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Heartbeat's in a rough spot, has to ult Scara back. That will actually build him enough space, though, so he will survive that encounter. Scar actually almost died to the turret there.
Taking a lot of damage from that little bit of an invade. Dignitas got to pull back a little bit. They've realized they were down 1,000 gold to start of the game, but they've really pulled this one back in. They got the ace at the dragon fight, even though MRN took that, and then they were able to clear out all 3 outer turrets, so the map control is totally in Dignitas' favor, and like they have done in so many games, once they've taken those outer 3 turrets, Dignitas essentially stops warding their side of the map. They put all of their wards in the enemy jungle and at the enemy jungle exit. So anywhere MRN decides to go, Dignitas will generally know where they are. And now Dignitas has the opportunity to press on the second dragon of the game.
And here we go, Dragon, of course, being up. Pink ward there for MRN. He has to toss a javelin, not a javelin, sorry, but a flag over the wall to spot that one out. Sees that Dignitas has not yet started, but Crumbs is shoving that bottom lane. That'll give them, again, a little bit more of an advantage when they go for this one. Patoy with the pink ward is going to start clearing out these wards. Atomic actually standing on top of a pink ward himself. So MRN is very much spotted right here. Dignitas knows exactly where they are and what they are up to. The poke here from Echo can needily be enough to stop this dragon.
It's tough to do a dragon against a poke nearly like this, and Dignitas remembers essentially what they did to MRN the last time they went on dragon, but Dignitas is not scared of this one. They've cleared out the vision, and if MRN wants to fight, Dignitas is going to take it happily.
All right, there we go. The dragon is going to go down. Atomic N being jumped on by Cutie Pie. Cutie Pie's flash, though, is up, so it would be a bait if nothing else. There was some pressure in the mid lane. The minions are there, but there comes the headbutt pulverize. It's going to land on a Claky D. Here comes Crumbs. He's been forced to flash out. And they've just disengaged this one completely. The mid turret could have been under siege, but MRN did not choose it.
That was really good by Dignitas. They went just deep enough. They realized that they'd gotten Claky D to burn his flash. Crumbs had already burned his dash to get in on him, and he could have tried to flash after him and use his Xin Zhao Crescent Sweep to knock somebody back, but that would have been a bit of a reach. They'd already gotten what they wanted, they'd already increased their advantage, and Dignitas is going to be happy getting the huge waves in the side lanes and just keeping this game pushing.
All right, and of course you're seeing that work very, very well here. Kiwi Kid back to the top lane, of course. When Dignitas, they start winning, they just kind of push all the lanes simultaneously, so Kiwi Kid goes back to that top lane himself. MRN, a 4-man siege in the mid lane, actually 5 as Claky D shows up, but it's a 5-on-4. Will they find anything here? They look for Scara. Scara's not going to take too much damage himself. They clear out the waves again. Heartbeat in a bit of a fight against a much over-farmed Corki, so Cutie Pie doing very, very well.
And I think Dignitas can hold this off with just 4. Kiwi Kid's going to be able to push up that lane quite a bit. I don't believe MRN is strong enough to really go in on something, but because they do have the 5v4 matchup, and because MRN is behind, they were looking for that, but now it's actually Dignitas engaging on them.
Then we're going to go in on Claky D. Claky D EQs out the flash in from Patoy. He lands it onto 4. Here comes the fight in the Shenel onto Claky D, and it has been a Kiwi Kid showing up. Atomic N under siege as well. 1-0 so far. In comes Scar. He's been exhausted. They can trade this one back. They do, but he gets the kill first. Now it is a 4-on-3. Who's going to take the damage next? Cutie Pie taking hits from the turret, but Dignitas will disengage.
Kiwi Kid got in late for that fight, but it was still quite an accomplishment for Dignitas. The amount of clothes that they have on their team. Patoy doing the brilliant flash to headbutt pulverize to get in on everyone, which allowed the rest of Dignitas to just pile in afterwards. Scara did go a little too aggressive, but that's going to be okay because once he gets a few more items on Diana, he's just going to continue to do that throughout the rest of the game. So that was a very good sign for Dignitas, both the confidence to go in 4v5 and the fact that they cleaned 2 for 1.
So a beautiful fight. Again, we're just seeing Dignitas really show the team fight mechanics of this top North American team, looking to clinch themselves still into first place. See if that ends up being the case, of course. Mega Zero finally on farm duty for himself, looking for a 70th minion kill here. He misses that one, but he'll get the next one, I'm sure. And meanwhile, Crumbs, he has been at this bottom lane a long part of this game. He's been split pushing there quite a bit and has got himself to 100 minion kills. So he actually accelerated above Claky D.
That's some pretty good farm there for a jungler. This is what Dignitas has done a few times, especially when Crumbs was on Vi. He got a few early kills on Vi, then just decided to start taking farm and really turn himself into a monstrous threat. This is a game where Crumbs doesn't have any kills, but he's still making sure to tank himself up. This is one of those things, he's so close to that Lock of the Iron Solari, and he just completes it, that they're willing to give him the farm so that he can match the farm on the other side. So even though Claky D's got the 3 kills, Crumbs has pretty much the exact same gold as him, so he's 40 below him right now in total gold. Because Dignitas is channeling him extra farm, and because Dignitas has gotten the turret advantage with splitting the dragons 1 for 1, the kills for Claky essentially are nullified just because of the smart play by Dig.
Really good job by them, of course, and you're seeing the items still pushing forward and forward for these guys. The overall gold advantage, you can see at the top, you can see it at the bottom. Many of these members of Dignitas are doing extremely excellently here. Right now, Heartbeat is forced to survive in this bottom lane, trying to get his farm back up, getting himself to that late game status on Tristana. Blade of the Ruin King done, but no other major items yet. He's facing off against Bloodthirster and Ezreal, so QtPie definitely having a better game here. Skara looking towards Zhonya's next, and you're just seeing a lot of great completed items.
And I like the completed Boots of Mobility on Crumbs and Patoy. This is something Dignitas does really well. When they pick up a lead in the game, because they put Boots of Mobility pretty much always on Crumbs, and now this time on Alistair's Patoy, they are always in the right place at the right time, because if any fight is kind of breaking out, they have that Boots 5. How much move speed are those actually giving them? It's
105, I believe?
105 extra move speed when they're out of combat for 5 seconds, and they can just make it in for the fights, as they actually end up burning a crescendo from Atomic.
Sono goes on a lot of crowd control on his own. He's going to go down immediately. The ult from Xin Zhao locks Dignitas up, but there's no one here to really defend this. He's going to go down as well, 2 for nothing, and no counterattacks. Tristana wasn't even around to fight that. Echo, no javelins either. Dignitas looking towards Baron.
Marn wasn't even prepared to counterattack that. Atomic attempted to do a crescendo, and then the initiation just kept following up. Marn was not in position. They do have 3 people up with a lot of poke, but this is the danger time for Marn. I don't think they can safely contest this Baron whatsoever.
Now instead they're going to go for that mid lane instead. That's going to be a bit of damage there. Looks like Baron not giving Dignitas too much trouble. They're going to pick that one down right here. Picked up at 21:06. The turret goes down and Marn going to run away. They got something, but Dignitas got a whole lot more.
This is just amazing timing for Dignitas. They know that Heartbeat hasn't reached any of his big items yet, so with just a Blade of the Ruin King and not even a Zeal, Tristana is not a threat at all. This is like Tristana's absolute weakest point in the game. Echo just finished his death cap, so that's slightly good for Marn, but the poke is going to be tough because Dignitas doesn't sit around and wait for poke. They've been going all in, and now that they have the Baron buff, while Marn is sitting in that weak point, like the Spirit Visage for Mega Zero, that is not enough. You need Warmogs and Sunfire Cape on Shen. It's just going to be a struggle. Dignitas is going to really look to dive towers and probably try to end this game before 30 minutes if they can.
We'll see if they can do it. Of course, they got a 20-minute win against Complexity. That mark has been passed so far by Marn. We'll see what they can do. And just a random thing I kind of wanted to point out was still, I don't believe there's a single giant, well, no, actually, he just picked one up now on Elise, but up until about 40 seconds ago, not a single Giant's belt on Dignitas despite the Blade of the Ruin King.
And they kind of do that a lot when they do their double AP comps. Dignitas has been running a lot of double AP comps. It was kind of the counter the Tarek Jarvan thing, but that's kind of went away, and they're still like, you know, I kind of like how fast we can kill people with all this magic damage. As they're going in for a dive on Heartbeat. Nice escape!
Wow, 3 good ability uses in a row. The rocket jump to the ult away on Crumbs and the nice flash. But that still is going to give Dignitas the turret, so the gank, still with the right intent, gives them their 4th turret kill of the game. And Echo under complete siege there from QtPie has to run away from this one. Javelin's going to kill a cannon minion, but the turret still might go down.
Good luck following this one. Again, Dignitas has the triple push going on, trying to get every single side turret. And here they're usually poking back and forth until they get an opportunity. But they see the dragon. It's still 23 minutes in, and I guess Dignitas is going to fall back and take it.
No, there we go. And of course, QtPie taking a cue from Doublelift here, taking the Wraiths on the way to major objectives. And there we go. Dignitas starting up onto the dragon. Oracle's there from Patoy, means it is completely blind from Marn. And they're not even trying to stop the one out. They're actually putting their attention towards Kiwi Kid, who is a rather farmed spider.
Rather strong farmed spider. He's just got so much magic penetration right now. He's got the 30 straight from his items. Look at his character sheet. He's actually got 42 magic pen just off the bat, and that doesn't count the 20 reduction from the Abyssal Scepter. So he's basically doing true damage to everybody on Marn except for Mega Zero.
I think that makes it Spellvan or Magic Pen Quince as well as Reds then. So actually, it's not something I've seen in a very, very long time. It's interesting because. Anyway, sorry, moving on though. Kiwi Kid there, you can see him still farming out that top lane. Doing a whole heck of a lot of damage. No one really contesting him this game so far. 4-0-1-5, a perfect game for him so far. Toy, now he's going to be the one taking farm in the mid lane. And Marn, I just have not seen them make a move in a while. When you look back at their wins against CLG and TSM, it's because they were aggressive, they were finding opportunities and pushing in. And this time it's Dignitas bringing it to Marn's front door.
And it's what they needed to do. Dignitas has been so good in this winning streak of exploiting the small advantages from that every team gives them. They see the kind of holes in Marn's game. I mean, we interviewed Heartbeat the other day, and he was talking about how he thinks Tristana is overpowered if you can get through the mid game. And all of Dignitas's plays have been like, oh yeah, by the way, that mid game where you can't do anything, Heartbeat, we are not letting you farm. He's 154 minion kills, 25 minutes into the game. He is not on clip to do anything like he's done in his past games, and Dignitas is knocking on their front doors.
There we go. The door might just be broken down, even if MRN does not answer it themselves. A lot of pressure going on. Still, those 6 outer turrets are all gone. Kiwi Kid's still pushing the top lane. 3 strong at the bottom there. The turret going to take a bunch of damage there. Drop down to about 3/4. MRN looks to answer that one. It will stop it from going down, but it has still taken that damage irreparably. PewDiePie basically backdooring by himself the mid lane, dodging a javelin, and Scar is just back down to the bottom lane.
So the triple push that Dignitas has used just such effectiveness earlier on. Their Baron buff is now up, but they look poised to continue. I feel like they're going to keep MRN cornered in their base as long as possible and just kind of wait for themselves to catch someone in MRN low or get a small mistake and go for it. This is Dignitas's play.
This is Dignitas' play. The thankful thing for MRN is at least that they have a couple of healers. We'll see if they can keep them alive. Crumbs just sweeping wards. You're seeing pink wards just put down outside of MRN's base to stop counter wards. Just how much vision is available from this side is just so good for Dignitas. Kiwi Kid taking a bit of punishment. No sustain on him, but is still surviving that pretty well against Mega Zero. Here comes the initiation. They're going to look for PewDiePie. He actually dodges the crescendo. The reinitiation onto Atom again. He is low. Pops the channel onto him. Patoy's going to walk out. Pops Shirelius just to run away. And MRN will not find an engagement here, but they've lost some ult cooldowns.
Patoy just barely escaped that crescendo as it looked to travel out towards him. And now because the ultimates are down, they're just diving again.
A beautiful ult from Heartbeat keeps him alive. Now they're going to jump in onto Crumbs. Where's the damage going to be? Crumbs actually forced to flash back. PewDiePie on the outside, though. No one's going to hit him. Claky D down below half health. With a look for a fight, it's going to be Scar looking for. He's been exhausted. Tries to wait it out. Can he jump back in for the kill? Echo with a shield on top of him, going to get chunked down as well. Kiwi Kid kills a turret, and the rest of Dignitas takes down a champion. Now they're going to be pushing the bottom lane.
They're getting the free inhibitor, and that's the small window they decided to go for. There's the inhib. Kiwi Kid was split pushing the top as well. This looks like 2 inhibitors from Dignitas due to their triple push.
Okay, we're going to see what else they can go for here. That inhibitor will go down. That is 2 gone. They've grouped now back towards that mid lane here. We're watching just Kiwi Kid run away, and it's going to be a lot of pressure right there. Sona going down. The inhibitor next up. That is not looking good. Inhibitor going to go down.
And that is probably the end for MRN. It's not officially over yet because Dignitas has decided to go back to base, pick up the items, and then end up on closing. But whenever you finish the outer 3 inhibitors, I gotta say, I wish we had some data on this, but it's probably like a 0.01% win rate in games.
Yeah, like everyone's had that one game where they won against their 3 inhibitors being down, and they're like, dude, we just won with 3 inhibitors down. But like 99% of the 99.9% of the time, to
It
quote
works
your
every
numbers. Yes. 99% of the time it works every time. Those inhibitors are pretty vital for keeping your base alive. The only thing left right now in MRN's base is the Nexus and the 2 turrets that defend it. We'll see if that's going to be enough for them. Unlikely, but we've seen crazy things. We'll see if that happens here.
Yeah.
Mega Zero split pushing top lane. We'll see what he can do.
I'm a PewDiePie, Patoy, and Copper mortally locked in for a season-long battle of KDAs.
Yes.
So it's like Patoy and I'm a PewDiePie have yet to die this game. I'm sure that's kind of what they're yelling about right now. I know Cop didn't die at all in their victory. He was, I think, 4-0 and like 13 on Tristana, so that's going to bump him up to like 15 overall in the KDA. Patoy and I'm a PewDiePie are going to need a lot more to get in through here. So Dignitas is going to take this Baron, and I really want to see like how big the team play is going to be from Dignitas. Like if MRN decides to fight him, which MRN usually does, but if they don't, whether like Skara, Crumbs, and Kiwi Kid will like tank the fountain so I'm a PewDiePie and Patoy can get more kills or not, but we'll see how they decide to end this one with the giant, like, double waves of super minions pushing out on every single lane.
Yeah, well, last time we had Kiwi Kid actually up on the for the interview, he did talk about how PewDiePie spent most of the game convincing his team to like ruin Cop's KDA and dive him on the turret. So we'll see if that ends up being the case.
But Cop stayed so far back in that game that they couldn't dive him. It was ridiculous.
All right, well, here we go. All of Dignitas are now inside the base. This might be the end for Team MRN. They're pushing in the first turret now, taking a bunch of damage. Look at that thing just fall over. There's the initiation in from Claky D. What will he find? A good Sono. It's going to find everybody. But look at the first kill going down. Turret down as well. Atomic N taking pressure. It's now Echo taking damage. He's been exhausted. Shenel not going to be able to keep him alive. There is 3 down for MRN. Mega Zero and Heartbeat running away. Crumbs taking damage. Heartbeat's still getting hit. And PewDiePie looking for the kill. He will not find it. The Nexus will go down. That is Dignitas still in first place.
So another just stomp fest for Dignitas. They are so good right now. That's 10 wins in a row in the LCS, and they're not even phased by that one. That was just a walk in the park.
Yeah, and you can see them, of course, walking off of the their booth right now. Amazing by them. I mean, really, really, the first blood, like the failed invade looked so rough, and I was like, I mean, we call Marn giant killers, but seriously, this might be looking good for Marn. And then you saw the Dignitas factor kick in. Everyone started playing amazingly. The great team fight around Dragon. I mean, Dignitas deserved to win.
That might have been the experience AmacutePie was talking about in the pre-match, saying Marn could be good if they had more experience, but we're going to beat them because they're not experienced. And Dignitas knew exactly what to do in every stage of that game. Sure, they got outplayed a little bit early. I think AmacutePie should have filtered down towards the blue buff at the start of the game, but it didn't matter. Like, at the end of the day, they still out-controlled the game.
Yeah.
They completely shut down Mega Zero's Shen, made Split Push a non-factor. They made Heartbeat useless for most of the game, and they just used their dive, their coordination, and their mobility to close out the game.
Exactly. We talked about that featured matchup, that Kiwi Kid versus Mega Zero. Or you brought it up. Kiwi Kid, he won that one. Kiwi Kid, except for Dyrus, I think. And like one of the very first matches, he's pretty much always won his lane. So a lot of props to Kiwi Kid. He's done very, very well for his team, carrying Dignitas now for 10 wins. Anyway, coming up, we're going to speak to him from Dignitas, and then it's going to be our final match of the day with Vulcan versus Good Game University. We'll be right back.